My name is Brendan Howe. I'm the CEO of Techify. For those that don't know me, I'm joined by my more than capable colleague, Jermaine Clark, who's our Director of Intelligent Technology Consulting. And we've been doing these webinars together, Jermaine, for a few months now, haven't we?
Yeah. I mean, at least for 2021, this is webinar number 4. So I'm glad.
Nice. And we did a few last year too. And so this is, it seems like every webinar we say, hey, we got a new record for the number of people that are attending and that have registered, but we have a new record for the number of people that are attending and registered. Both you and I, as we go through wave 3, we're both working from home. It's you know, we're getting better and better at working from home and doing these things from home as I think everybody else is, but we can always get better and use better tools, which is what today is about. Just some housekeeping. The plan, we do about half an hour, maybe a little bit more than half an hour of content, and we go through, we're going to do Teams 101 today. And any questions you have, please pop them into the Q&A pane. We're going to be doing a live demo today, going through a bunch of different things on Teams, but we're also going to let you drive for the second half of this. And so half an hour content, and we'll stay on for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. However long there are questions that people want us to answer, we will answer questions. We can even show people things in Teams. Whatever you want to do. This webinar is also recorded and will be available through our website should you want to share it with colleagues and such. And just before we get moving along, this is, of course, Teams 101. So Teams 101 is your introductory webinar around Teams. We're going to go through a bunch of the basics. We're doing a Teams 201, which is, you know, the next step, the less basic stuff, diving into deeper detail. So if you're interested in progressing from this webinar to Teams 201, please register on our website, techify.ca/webinars. You'll see the link there. Just like you registered for this one, you can go and register there. Now, just before we get going, Jermaine, we should probably address a little bit of an elephant in the room.
Yeah, you mean the elephant between how we're running a Teams webinar and we're doing it via Zoom?
Yeah, not this elephant, but the actual the elephant in the room about Zoom. So why Zoom? Why not Teams? Well, we love Teams. We think it's a great product. We think it's great for working in collaboration and stuff. The one thing it's not great for is webinars. It's not there yet, and we're pretty honest. We're really honest, sometimes to a fault, in telling people what we think in terms of our advice. And we've never found that Teams provides that webinar experience. So we use on a day-to-day basis, we use Teams kind of nonstop and with all the stuff that we do. But when we do our webinars, we do them through Zoom. And it's nice to have these different technologies and these different options so that we can have a more user-friendly type of experience.
Yeah. And it's only a matter of time until Teams catches up. So,
well, in fact, they just announced by the end of this month. So by the end of April, they're going to be launching registration and webinar pages, kind of like they have in Zoom for Teams. So maybe a couple webinars from now, you'll see us on Teams and as opposed to Zoom. But for now, for the next couple webinars, we are going to be doing them on Zoom. So let's get right into it. So here's our goal. With these webinars, we've talked about, we want to save 4 hours per week per employee. So 4 hours per week for your staff, for your colleagues, right? That's the whole point of technology, right? The better we do on technology, the better off, the more we can save time, the more we can get more productive. And especially now where we're continuing on working differently than we were, I was saying a year ago. I guess it's over a year ago, right? Over the past year, we've been all working differently and different challenges. We need to keep on figuring out different ways that we can do this and be more productive. So let's talk a little bit about the areas where we waste some time right now, right? Some people have gone to working remotely, and it's taken longer to do stuff. So here's some examples that we've seen. Email overload, right? You just is now that we're remote, you don't see people in person. Like I get all sorts of feedback. I know, Jermaine, you've gotten all sorts of feedback that then the amount of emails is just, it's gone crazy over the last year, right? And people are looking for, how do we reduce the number of emails going back and forth?
Yeah, this day and age or time, my emails have in actuality doubled, if not more. And I've seen persons use it as a chat function, which is kind of funny. It's like just one-liners and single words and maybe 2 or 3 words in a reply, and they're just going back and forth. And there's this entire thread of email as if it was a chat window. So yeah, email overload's a big thing.
Yeah, and if you like email, if you want more email, this is not the webinar for you. Next thing related is emailing documents back and forth, different versions of documents, sending attachments back and forth, not knowing what version document, and just that kind of not being able to work on the same document at the same time as other people are working on them. It's a super frustrating experience. In fact, there's a research study from Forrester's about the total economic impact of Microsoft solutions. And it talked about, you can save 100 minutes a week with improved collaboration, particularly co-authoring and reviewing documents, right? So instead of emailing back and forth attachments. So, hey, we'd like to save that 100 minutes a week, right? We've also seen some people really embrace the working remote. Some people have really struggled with working remote because we have to use different tools. So if we provide our staff and our teams with the right tools and information, we can save them 140 minutes a week, according to that same Forrester study. Part of that is being able to find documents. Searching for things like the McKinsey pegged it as 20%. People spend up to 20% of their time just looking for internal information or tracking down colleagues. So if we can give people the right tools and information and stuff like that, we can save a whole boatload of time.
And just from those 3 slides, we're already at the 4 hours. If you're to look at it from a time perspective, 100 minutes in one, 140 minutes in the other, and then 20% overall. If you could reduce your time to search from document by 20%, you're looking at your 4 hours already.
Yeah, so let's talk about another 24 minutes that we're going to save you. We're going to get rid of VPN. So if we get rid of VPN, all of that mucking around with double-clicking VPN connections and dealing with sometimes unreliable VPN connection slowness, different issues like that. Hey, it can save 24 minutes a week. Might even save more, right? Same study. So, and then the other kind of piece here is, especially the longer this COVID stuff continues to go on, being able to engage our teams, right? We want to see our teams all kind of happy and smiling faces and engaged like the wonderful people in this picture. And that's not easy. So we're going to talk about how to do those things today. And if I look at our poll results here, and I appreciate we had a whole bunch of folks that answered the poll. Probably the 2 biggest things that I see from the poll results, people want to see better, or they want to understand the basic functionality and navigation of Teams. So we're going to spend some time going through that.
Great.
Folks want to understand how to manage meetings through Teams, better collaboration, particularly. I'm seeing my numbers are changing here a little bit as I talk about it, but I think we had about 80% of the people that are on it answered. But better collaboration, managing meetings, the basic functionality, creating teams. And then we had some interest in integrating applications with Teams, using Teams for a phone system, replacing your file server with Teams. That's stuff that we're going to get into in 2.0. And we're going to drive like the 201 is going to be driven by the feedback we get from the people that register for 201 and the feedback that we get from this this webinar. So I'm going to pass it over in just a sec to Jermaine, who's going to go through that Teams demo. And the reason we asked that polling question is our plan was to go through the architecture, how to set up a team, post chats versus email, how to manage meetings. And it looks like we're on the right track. Jermaine, there wasn't tons of interest in the post versus chat versus email. So maybe we can talk about, we'll focus in on how to remove the need for emails. But I think people probably, based on what I'm seeing, people get what the difference between posts and chats and stuff like that. So Jermaine, over to you.
Awesome, thank you. So before I jump into the screen share, the demo today, we're assuming that you've used Teams already. We're assuming that you've got stuff that you're looking for specifically. So as we go through, feel free to throw questions into the question answer section, and we'll try to answer some of those live. We're going to start off, we're going to dive into the architecture, functionality, and navigation of Teams right away. And then from there, we're going to click through and kind of keep it fluid. We've got stuff that you've already answered in the panel request questionnaire. And then based on that, we're going to go through. But as we get more into it and you've got questions, you want something deeper, let us know. And we can also either add that to our 201, or if we've got the time today, we're going to go ahead and do it from here. So first thing on the agenda, I'm gonna throw Brendan over there to the left. I'm gonna bring the right screen up here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to share my first screen. So here we go, and I'm gonna optimize that, and we're gonna go straight off here. So from here, we're at my first screen that we're looking at here today. This is our front view panel of Teams. Okay, I'm working in our desktop option right now. I've downloaded this, it's installed on my computer. And from here, this is where everything happens for me in a day-to-day. Now, once we go through this and we look, I want you to take the whole full view of this. I've got meeting information on the right. I've got a general post deck in front of me that displays everything that I've clicked on in the left side. And starting from the top, I've got a suite of already pre-pinned or pre-programmed shortcuts sitting on the left side here. And coming through that line all the way down to the bottom, I've got an apps and a help section here, and a giant button with the word across it here that says I can join or create a team from here. So the other place that I can access my teams from would be straight out of the browser. So here's the same screen. I'm accessing it through my Microsoft Edge browser and not through the application on my desktop. And the third way that I can access it is the same one, would be through my mobile phone. So you can open up your mobile phone, you can have your Microsoft Teams app there. You click it like any other app, it launches on your phone. So you've got three options there to keep track if you're on the go, whether or not you're working on a shared computer or otherwise through the Teams functionality from the web. And then of course, the full functionality from the app here. So if you look at those two, they're identical when you look at the performance and the overlay.
And just a quick pro tip here, Jermaine, some of us are working maybe part of a peer group, or might be working professional services, and you're working on projects with different companies and different organizations. Right. And if you're just working in the desktop or the mobile version of Teams, you have to actually switch over to that organization's Teams in desktop, and it takes you away from your own organization's Teams. But if you have the web browser open as well, you can have one company's team open in the web browser and one on your desktop, and it allows you to be using both of them and seeing messages and accessing files and stuff at the same time without as much switching back and forth.
So that's a great point. As I've got it open already, I can just go ahead and show that. I'm the member guest in two other external teams to Techify. And at any one point in time, I can come here to the browser and click onto that to get to that team. It's now completely removed me from the Techify team. I only see the external team here. And based on that, my team in my desktop app is still on Techify. So if you don't want to be interrupted from your internal organization team, then you can go ahead and launch any number of incognito windows in your browser that loads up each of the teams that you're a member of. That's a great point. All right, so the next step here, I'm seeing the questions popping up in the Q&A, so we'll just, I'll have Brendan throw those at me when he can.
Yeah, just Jermaine, just before we go, like one was, can you enlarge the window? And actually, if you go on your Zoom screen, so if you maximize your Zoom screen, and then you click on speaker view, you should see both Jermaine sharing his screen on Teams, as well as our beautiful or less than beautiful faces, however you want to put it. If you hover your cursor over right in between Jermaine sharing his screen and our video, you'll see a little cursor. You can actually slide to make us bigger or smaller and make the window that we're sharing bigger. So Adina, hopefully that answers your question. Just post in the Q&A if it doesn't.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'll continue along. Hopefully that works for you, Adina. So on the feed side on the left with the icons, we're just going to go do a quick click through and see. We've got two things, my activity feed and the feed from the organization. And I want to see the feed from the organization based on everything here. And that's everything that's happening top of mind. Anything that comes through, whether they're posts or otherwise, and I want to see on the Ask the Panel feed, anything that pops up over here will give me an activity notification on the top left. Okay, so that's the first place you're always going to see anything new, because if you're like myself, you're a member of lots of groups and there's an entire plethora of messages and updates that come through. So you really want to be able to click on that activity button and review what's pertinent to you and what activity just happened. And then once you click on that activity, it'll give you a read notification saying I've completed it. So then it doesn't show up. I've got no open activities that I'm not aware of. The next one is the chat function, and we'll go through this very slowly and quickly, very quickly as opposed to slowly. When we go through this chat function and we click on these, everything that showed up here gives me a pinned version versus a recent version. So the most important people are the people that try to talk to me the most throughout the day are within these chat windows. So I've pinned those folks. And then for all of the meetings and things that I join throughout the week, whether it's a meeting internally, a meeting externally, or other meetings with users within the organization in groups, those all go onto the recent version section. Now, when you attend webinars and you attend group meetings or meetings with clients or otherwise, every single meeting is shown in that historical chat version there under recent. So you can always go back at another time. If you've had a meeting with someone in the past, click on that meeting and the files and associated information for that meeting, anything that was shared there is currently still in there as a cached version of it that you can access. So we've got our activity and our chat function, and then we move into the Teams function of Teams. So this is where it gets exciting, because especially if you're a project manager or you've got multiple teams that you work with within your organization, or external teams as well that join your meetings and service within any particular projects or otherwise, one of the things that you want to be able to do is have all of your projects and the people related to those projects within the team. And that's where we get the name of teams. So the team within Teams is what we would create to encourage persons to work within a specific group on a specific topic. Now, I've got a demo team set up here already, but just for the demonstration here today, within that demo team, I've got posts, files, and the wiki. Those are standard. They come pulled within the demo as you go along. Now, let's say I wanted to create a new team for today's purpose. Down at the far bottom here on my left, there's a Join or Create Team banner. I can click on that, and I'm not going to join a team today. I'm going to go ahead and create one. And based on that, I'm just going to hit the Create button. And I want to say, well, there's a number of templates that Microsoft has pre-populated here that you can pick from and go ahead and just click on it and get a new team. Or if you've created templates for yourself within your organization, you can go ahead and say, I'll create one from a group or team. Now I have the option of my Microsoft 365 group, which is our organization, Techify, or I can go ahead and mimic a team that already exists. So as an example, if you've got a project delivery template and I want to add everything into that new team and then add the people afterward, I would click on that one. So let's go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to say, oh, well, I'd like to do the intelligent technology consulting one. And based on that, I'm going to go up here and rename it. And then I can select, do I want the same people in this group, or do I only want the tabs, the settings, and the applications associated with the group? I'm going to leave the people out because I'm creating a new project, and I'm going to hit create. Once that's done its thing, it's going to pull everything that's in that previous team, and it's going to give me all of it except the people associated with it. So that's done. Right, you got a really nice graphic going on there. And based on that, it'll say, well, who do you want to work with in this team? So I'll add Brendan. I'll add Mike Davies, our intelligent technology consultant who works with myself and the team. I'm going to go ahead and add them into the group. So now they're in. I'm going to just go ahead and close that. And I've got my demo live team now created. I've got a general tab. It's got a number of documents already associated with this because I mimicked it from a previous team. And I've also got training modules and everything loaded up. So now that I've gone ahead and done that, based on having a template, you can replicate this for project management or anything you want over time by going back and just having a specific template team, call it project management, call it party planning, call it whatever you need. And then you can always replicate that very quickly and add a few people to it. So I've got a new team in tow. I'm going to go in here and say, okay, there's a bunch of files and everything in here, but I need to add a new file. So all I did was click on General under Demo Live. I go over here and there's a post and I want to click on Files. I'm going to go here and say, okay, well, I want to add a new document and I'm going to call it Demo Live Planning, hit Create. And now the persons that are within this group, if you notice, this is opened up right in front of me in Teams. I haven't gone to Microsoft Word. I haven't done anything. And oh, look, Brendan has just joined the document and he's typing away saying, hey, this is hey, there you go. I'm doing a great job. Wonderful. Hopefully you guys agree with him. But I still haven't left Teams so far. So I've created a new Word file. I'm collaborating with Brendan because I invited him to that Word file. And now we can work within this team. I can go ahead and close this and exit that document itself, and it brings me back to the same files tab where I created it.
So if this, Jermaine, if this was a presentation for a client, we'd be able to work on it together right here. So we could chat back and forth, open up the document, that sort of thing. Yeah. Same thing for sales proposals, other deliverables that people have. It kind of gets everything sheets, central and easy.
Yeah. Every document that you can use in a Microsoft Suite, PDFs and the like, you can go right ahead and do that here. So we're going to go down. We're going to keep an eye on those Q&As coming through. The next thing that everybody had mentioned a little bit was looking at your calendar, managing your meetings through Teams. Now, if you're working in Microsoft Suite already, or even if you're G Suite and you're utilizing the Microsoft Outlook app on your computer to run your email, your calendar in Microsoft Teams and your calendar in your Outlook all look the same. And based on that, you can, from Teams, click on the calendar icon and go in and you pick a day, whatever day you want, and you can go ahead and add, remove, update, invite persons to a meeting the same way you would do it in your Outlook. So as an example, I can go ahead here and I can click on that and it pops up and gives me a time frame, and I can go ahead and add a title. And I can go ahead and say, hey, I need to add a few people to this. So it looks like Brendan's going to have to be forced to work with me again. And I'm going to add Mike in since he's there. The meeting does not repeat. If I wanted to, I could say, you know what, I'm going to add a channel to this meeting and I'm going to add the general tab. So now when somebody comes to this meeting, they can click on that link within the tab and go back and see everything that's in the demo live section. So now we're linking the channel that's appropriate. So let's say it's, for an example, you're booking a meeting for to review the project plan for an upcoming project. And you've got the teams already created. You've got a channel with the name of that project. You invite persons to discuss that project. You add the team channel right here. So when they come to the meeting, everything they need is in that channel and they have the access as required. So no more searching around going, oh, well, who's got the document, or should I be pasting or downloading a document and attaching it to it? Pick your location. In this case, we're going to stick with this being a Teams meeting. And then now I want to check and say, well, am I going to, the people that I'm inviting to the meeting. So I've gone over to the right and I've clicked on scheduling assistant. This has existed forever. The people that I want in the meeting, are they available, or do they have any conflicts with the time that I'm choosing for the meeting? Well, it looks like Brendan is not available. I'm going to have to go ahead and shift this meeting over until 5. Now everybody's available because I can see all 3 of our calendars. And from here, I can say, okay, great, this is done. So I'm going to move the meeting to 5 o'clock to 6 instead. Details are fine. I'm going to go ahead and send. So now that meeting has been created. I've used the scheduler to ensure that the persons that I would like to meet with, I'm not sending them an email back and forth going, hey, who's next? Who's in charge? Can you turn up? Does this time work? Does that time work? And then we can go from there. And the last thing too is that if my colleagues would like to book some time with me, or the clients or anyone that wants to speak with me, they can use my bookings calendar, which is an app that you can go through, and I'll show you the app via the ellipses here. And they can pick free time within my calendar and just book that time in themselves if they would like to pick that time with me. So now we can manage, you can cancel your meetings, change your meetings, update your meetings, everything from your calendar within Teams. Calls, we're gonna go in depth with calls in the future. But when we look at this from a Teams to Teams meeting scenario, we can go ahead. Here's my speed dial list. All the persons within our organization are listed here. And we can go ahead and call anyone from this window. All I did was click on the calls tab. I can look at my contacts. I can look at the history, and I can even review my voicemail to text. Well, apparently because I'm in the demo version, there's no voicemail, which is good. So with that, that's on the call sections. We'll talk a little bit in the future about dialing out to the phone system itself and receiving calls. As you can see, I've got a direct dial ID number sitting here above my phone pad, which means I can call out to network.
I think one of the things I just wanted to jump in, Jermaine, and talk about. So if we go back up to Teams, I think where an area that a lot of people struggle with Teams is we're so used to software being built for us that says this is how you have to use our software. Yeah. This is how the software is designed. Teams is different in that you have so many different options for how to use it and how to customize it for the applications you use, for your workflow. So if you want to create teams that are project specific teams, you can go and create project specific teams. If you want to create it based on like the HR team or the operations team or the sales team or stuff like that, you can create that way. And we can really, like, I hope folks have seen with this sort of quick overview, when you have files in the same place as your teams and you're able to access files and meet in the same place, you can remove a whole bunch of emailing back and forth. You can post comments. So if I'm reviewing a file, I can just post a quick comment here in Teams, and then you don't have all these emails going back and forth. And when somebody's ready to actually make those edits to a document or file or whatever, that information's all right there.
Correct. That's great. Great point to raise. And just to show you, because I scheduled that demo test live and booked the channel in, it published it as a post here under the team itself within that channel. So now everybody knows there's a meeting as well that they can join from here or the calendar. And then the documents that we work on would be in one of these tabs going forward. Now, again, I'm going to leave this as is because I copied it from another team. I won't launch it into here to confuse things on my end. But based on that, all the files and everything that we pull in will show up here so everybody can access it from the one pane of glass. And to add to that last bit from an applications perspective, there's an apps loader at the bottom here in the bottom left above the help button. And it's important to note that Teams is agnostic to the apps. There's thousands of apps that exist. And if you want to add something in, whether it's project management, polling, YouTube videos, anything related to your organization. So as an example, if I click on the Jira Cloud here, this is the plan, track, release software. So this is something that IT companies that would utilize, that do development for software and the like, would utilize this, and they would be able to plan out their track, look at the updates, see the changes that are being made, and have an attack plan that they can follow along bit by bit in order to deliver that software on time. And this is something that's available that they can just add into their teams. And similar to my teams here, where I've got tasks by planner, it would show up and be pinned on the left side. Now, one thing before we move forward, because I see I'm cognizant of the time here, the one thing that I want to show everybody is everything that we're talking about here today, you can do as well. Just knowing where to click is the right way to go. And I want to introduce everyone to the help button. This help button isn't like the paperclip from before where it's like, well, tell me what you can't do. It's more of a, well, here are the top things that we'd like to introduce you to from a help perspective. And you can pick it by topics, training, and even narrow the field down to what's new today in Teams or what's new in the Microsoft Teams section. So if I were to click on the training section here, I still have not left my Teams as it sits today. Everything that I need to learn more about Teams and utilize Teams is right in front of me just by clicking on the training section. And in the tabs at the top, if I were so inclined, I could go over here and search it by topic, what's new, and information about Teams. So here's the publications. Here's the newest thing upcoming with Teams as of April 9, 2021. But more importantly, on their topics and training, I can say, hey, I want to plan a meeting. I remember Jermaine showing us this on the webinar. How do I do this? Let me go over here to topics. Oh, there's it. Just click on it and go. And the videos, it's super important to note that we're very busy people, everyone here. Microsoft's done a great job of breaking these up into little bite-sized 1 minute, 2 minute videos. If you're making,
I love that. You've got like a minute, 2 minutes, you get your answer, you move on with your life. I think it's a fantastic approach.
Right. So at this point, Brendan, we've got a bunch of questions popping up over there. I think I'm going to hand it back over to you at this point. I think we've covered a lot today. And I want to be able to give people more time for some question answers.
Yeah, and I think that was a great overview. Please keep putting your questions in the question pane. We've got a bunch that we're going to start answering right now. And if you want us to show you anything else or answer anything else, please post them in the pane there. Again, we wanted to provide an overview for you so you can get a bit of a sense of where we're going. I'm going to put just one more feedback poll up just in case anybody's going to peel off right now, or before you do, please provide some feedback to us before we do the 201 webinar, which of course is coming up on May 19th at 1 p.m. We're going to send out a note to anybody who's registered about what folks are looking for. If you want us to go into, more detail about implementing different apps, different parts of Teams, we'll take that feedback and we'll put together our approach based on that. So let's, and then one more kind of quick plug about future webinars. We're doing a security webinar coming up in June 16th, 1 p.m. We're going to do Security 101, how to avoid getting your staff phished, whaled, hacked, and all the other horrible things that can happen out there. Our contact information in case anybody wants to follow up with us directly. And then, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop our screen share here. And then we'll start going through the questions. So a couple questions in terms of where the data is saved. Jermaine, like if it's saved in Teams, if it's saved on your computer, if it's saved in the cloud, where's all this stuff saved?
That's a great question. So thank you for putting that in the room. That question, the answer right away is SharePoint 101 and 102, or 201 in that sense. Everything that you do within Teams is fully through SharePoint. So SharePoint, if you would think of SharePoint as your cloud space, your shared space within the cloud, where every document, every picture, everything that you post is in that repository of SharePoint. And Teams is the access window to get to that. So if I created a new file in Teams through that one Teams window under the channel, that file automatically got uploaded straight to SharePoint because of where it was created in the Teams front end. But realistically, if you think about it as on the inside, you're the same person, you change your clothes, but the clothes and the substance is all still inside, right? Doesn't matter how you change the clothes. The Teams is the clothes in front of the SharePoint repository. And that's where everything goes. Whether you create the file in a team, whether somebody attaches the file from their computer to the team, or if the file was shared by email and then added to the team, doesn't matter. It all syncs back to your SharePoint.
Yeah, and there's different ways. We might spend, if folks are interested in this, we might spend a little bit more time on it in 201 in terms of little tips and tricks for easy ways to access your data, right? Like we're used to Windows Explorer, we're used to like file save as, and getting an understanding of how to use those features. Like you can click on and you can sync parts of where your files are so they show up in your Windows Explorer. If you want to have kind of a quick way to access data, that's another option. Jermaine, I'm gonna sort of fling something at you here, and maybe you can just go back to our demo site.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Natalie had a question about an easier way to delete historical chat entries. So like, how do you manage what's in Teams in terms of what's showing up versus what's not? And
right.
Maybe we can talk a little bit about kind of pinning and muting and hiding and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we can. And the short answer, I'll go ahead and reinitiate my screen share here. Realistically, unfortunately, Natalie, the short answer is right now, Microsoft does not allow you to delete all of the chats without having to do line by line. And the reason for that is because they also won't allow you to delete the message for somebody else that you've shared it with versus your own. So the reason behind that for them, and it's something that we've put in as a feature request, and I say we, and I speak to the Microsoft partner emporium that's out there. We've put in a request to at least be able to say, look, I want to have an option to check off 47 different one of these and go ahead and hit delete and have it disappear forever, which is fine. And that feature will come down the road. Probably if we're lucky by the end of 2021, we're going to have that. But in the interim, one of the things that you can do to get rid of those things that you don't want to see because they're clutter and everywhere is to click on the ellipses for any one of the chats that you're looking at. So as an example, I'm going to click on this one from a webinar I was on yesterday, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the hide button. Now I've already muted this. As you can see, it says unmute, which means I've already muted it.
Yeah, Jermaine, do you want to just make sure you're sharing your screen?
Oh, that's weird. I'm going to go ahead and try the screen share again because it was working just now. Go ahead and minimize that again. All right, so I have, yeah, it's just completely disappeared.
Well, you know what, we could do it the other way. I can show my screen. Maybe this is why we need to use Teams for
stick to Teams for it. Yeah.
Teams for webinars.
So let me just try it again. See why it's broken.
There you go.
On that, is it back?
Yeah, you're back. We see your background image there in your desktop.
So I apologize for that. I'm going to run through that again for you. So I've got a Teams over here. We unfortunately can't delete everything that's in there without doing it one by one currently. In the future, what they'll do is they're going to give us an option to check kind of like a check mark against each of the things you want to delete. So that's faster, but it's going to come probably at the end of the year. What I wanted, or what I thought I was showing just now, where it's there, I can see it saying I'm sharing the screen. So that's good. I want to hit that hide button. Okay. I've already muted this channel because I've completed the webinar and there's no point for me to keep it open. I want to hit that hide button. And it's going to go ahead and remove it from my vision. Now, one of the things that you can do in the future, well, if I accidentally hide something, can I find it again? You can 100% go back and there's a section that says, hey, I've got a number of hidden teams here as an example. You can go back, right click on the thing that you want to find. You can still search it and it'll pop up as a channel. Okay, so you can find it again in the future, as long as you remember what it was or something close to it. And you can go ahead and show that again, okay, instead of having it hidden. So that you can do from your activity panel as well. Anything that's posted has the option to mark as read, see the notifications, but then you can go into those recent notifications here and hide any of it that you need. Does that cover? Hopefully that covers everything in the question.
Yeah, I think like I got the sense from Natalie's question that like there's a whole bunch of clutter that gets created here, right? And
Absolutely.
How do you manage the clutter, right? And it's sort of similar to the inbox overflow type of stuff that we have. Okay, let's go next. We had a question about if you're part of more than one company's teams, can you merge calendars? How do you deal with the calendar side of things?
Okay, so that's a fun one. We don't need a demonstration for that one. That one's a fun one. So two things. One, from a security perspective, you're unable to merge the two calendars because you're a guest in that organization and you're being given view permissions to what's happening. Now, if your email address is in a meeting, it'll show up in both calendars because you're using the same email address. Now, that would need to mean as well that the calendar that you have in the other organization, that organization has invited your same company email address to all of the meetings. Then all of those meetings should show up based on your calendar because your email address is the one that's been invited, regardless of if it's in a different organization. You will not be able to see another person's calendar or things in that calendar that you're not officially invited to in your own calendar. And that's a permissions and a restriction realistically around company data and company security protection, right? Because there's a wall around that company in the cloud and your guest access allows you to see, but there's no information going from that organization into your organization. So that way you can't merge the calendar.
Yeah, and I think it depends what you're trying to do. Like if you're just trying to make it easier to schedule people, like figure out on a team who's available when, there's different options for doing that, right? Like if it's an external company, Microsoft Bookings is a tool that's part of Microsoft 365. We use it, and Jermaine kind of showed it for a quick minute there. You can integrate that right in the team. So if you get everybody that's on a project team, even if they're an external company, I'll send a link on a regular basis to people outside of Techify with a link to my calendar, and I use Microsoft Bookings to do it. And it doesn't show your calendar, it just shows your availability. And you can set it up saying like, don't ram up kind of meeting after meeting. Give me a little bit of a 15 or 30-minute buffer when you let people book, and you can control what allows you to do it and stuff like that. And because we all hate, again, going back to the email overflow, I don't need 16 different emails back and forth to find a time to book a meeting with 6 people, right? Here's my calendar, figure out a time that works with everybody, right? And then whoever's booking that meeting too doesn't want to send 16 emails as well.
Right.
So glad that answered your question, Christine. Maybe we'll do, let's do one more, Jermaine. If we're working on a shared document, which is also in SharePoint, will the changes sync all around?
Okay, so that question's got a bit of a trick in it. Okay, if I'm working on a shared document within my organization, that document perpetually currently exists in SharePoint. So that's the trick. One, whenever someone shares a document via a link for you to collaborate on, that document, unless the person downloads it and hides it on their desktop on their computer, that document being shared and collaborated on is in SharePoint already. And that way, if you're working on it in Teams, you're working on it in the browser in Teams, you're working on it directly in the desktop application for Microsoft, every change that you make is almost live synced to your SharePoint. So it's the same document in every place. You're just using a different means to access it. So the answer is yes and yes.
Yeah, and I think there's little tricks that you learn. Like we'll have different. Maybe you'll spin up a project team, and so in our case, we could spin up a project team to talk about a client-specific issue. That's something we're working on over the next month. And so, like an example, we fast-growing organization with all sorts of complexities around how they do machine deployments. And we brought a bunch of our teams together. We created a team and a couple channels, and then we're pointing, and we've added tabs for the part of the information we're relying on is in OneNote. Part of it is in Microsoft Forms. Part of it is in SharePoint under the client folder. And we're not going to migrate the whole client folder into that Teams team, but we're going to link there so that as we're working on all this stuff, we can access it. We can go, if we make changes to an SOP around that process that's in the client folder, we're just clicking within Teams and we're just making that change. And then it's in SharePoint and it's there and we're working it in real time and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Rule of thumb is just if it's in your document library and you're in SharePoint, it's in SharePoint forever.
Awesome. So we are just over 45 minutes in. Jermaine, that was, I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate everybody's questions, all sorts of questions. Again, we've got a 201 session where we're going to be diving into a little bit deeper, a little more advanced, going from the 101 intro to some 201 how-tos. And we're going to be looking for some feedback from everybody on what do you want us to, like Teams is it's a big beast, right?
Yeah,
there's lots we can go through.
Yeah. And I would throw it out there in the closing notes here to say our clients have access to myself and my team in the event, and I've done several of these over the years, several dozens of these over the years. If you want to spend some time with me one-to-one, just reach out and let's have a conversation, and then we can book some time in together. Post the webinars and the like, and we can work together on some of the stuff that you want to know specifically and work on for yourself. So please
if you're not a client, you should be having somebody help you build out that roadmap like Jermaine does with our clients. How are you going to use Teams? How is this going to incorporate into your productivity roadmap? Yeah. How is this going to make your organization better? If you're not getting that advice, please reach out to either of us. We'd be happy to have a chat with you about how we can help.
Great. Thanks a lot, Brendan. This has been fun. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thanks. Have a great day. Hope the snow melts.
Yeah, that's a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.